Hello, welcome back, my favorite movement enthusiast, to today's hip mobility session for absolute bloody beginners. We're gonna start out with the easiest exercises and then move on to equally easy exercises. Sit as upright as you can, and we're gonna start by pulling in our leg and turning our upper body sideways, as well as working to the other direction, one leg, then the other, and turning around fully. This one is going to help us strengthen our hip flexors, our quads, and our lower abdominals. And the more upright we stay in our upper body, the more strength we are going to require, which means that if you lean back a little bit, you can make this exercise even easier. And over time, once you develop the necessary strength and coordination, you can start staying fully upright in your upper body and add a little bit more core engagement. Now we're going to extend it when turning around. External hip rotation on one side, internal hip rotation on the other side. And once again, the more upright we stay in our upper body, the more core and adductor strength we're going to require. And now we have a little bit more quad strength included as well, and strengthening our glutes with the external hip rotation side. Work dynamically. You can pick up some speed if you want, or you can slow it down and just focus on flexing all of these muscles actively and taking your time in every single movement. Going to push our knees outwards as much as we can. That totally depends on your range of motion. If this is the end of your range of motion, that is absolutely perfect. Don't worry about it. If you can open up a little bit more, that would be just as good. With both hands behind our head, extend your upper body as much as we can. And all we want to do from here is hinge symmetrically in our hip joints by folding forward as far as we can, keeping our upper body as straight as we can, and reversing the entire movement. This means that we need to keep our spine at the very least in a somewhat neutral position by flexing our spinal erectors, which means our lower or lumbar spinal musculature, and hinging forward in our hips. If this is the end of your range of motion, once again, don't worry about it. Over time, this will definitely get better. And just go through the short movements until you can go lower and lower and lower. And at some point, you're going to be hinging all the way down until your upper body is at the same line with your femur, which is the goal of this exercise. Is over time, we want to have the full range of motion to fold down all the way, and this is going to help us strengthen our hip flexors, strengthen our spinal erectors and our glutes, and the tiniest bit our adductors as a small bonus. We're gonna pull in one leg and place our foot right in front of our body at knee height. All I want to do from here is push our knee for our hip to move into external rotation as far as you can without having any pain. If you have the tiniest bit of discomfort while stretching, absolutely okay. Don't worry about it. However, if you have pain, especially in the joint, then definitely pull back a little bit and end the movement there. Reverse, put your foot down and repeat on the other side. Pull up, push into external rotation, reverse the movement, and repeat on the other side. Now, you can start out with very short movements and over time start pushing outwards more and more and more, opening up your hips and your adductors. We have the tiniest bit of stretch in our glutes at the top level and the most stretch inside our hip at the lowest level. So now we can move down to the floor, look for a comfortable place to sit, and extend both of your legs in front of your body. The more we stay upright in our upper body, the more core strength we're going to require. So if you require it, you can just lean back a little bit to make this a lot easier. Now we're going to elevate. It doesn't have to be far. Once again, if the end of your range of motion when raising your foot is just a half an inch or an inch, that's absolutely okay. We want to elevate, hold for a second or two, before we reverse and repeat on the other side. Now, there are a couple of things to keep in mind because we're going to have different variations of this exact same movement. The first one being with our legs completely closed. We're going to elevate and we're going to actively pull our toes towards our upper body, which means that we need to flex our tibialis. Now we have an insane amount of engagement in our quads, our hip flexors, and our abdominals. Reverse the movement and repeat on the other side. For our second variation, we're going to open up a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. Instead of elevating and pulling our toes in, now we're going to lengthen into complete ankle extension. Try and stay fully upright, hold for a couple of seconds, reverse, and repeat on the other side, flexing our entire anterior chain in our leg musculature all the way up to our core before we reverse and repeat on the other side. We also have a lot of foot musculature engagement, a nice bonus to have. Open up even wider, elevate your leg, extend into complete ankle extension, and now we want to move into external hip rotation, which means you turn your leg outwards, hold for a second or two, reverse, once again, repeat on the other side. Elevate, lengthen into ankle extension, turn into external hip rotation, hold for a second or two, and reverse. We're going to add one static stretch in between our dynamic movements. Keep one leg completely extended and cross over with the other leg. So left leg on the outside of the right knee. Try and extend your back fully, and now we're gonna cross over our right arm over the left leg, which means that now we can actively use our leg and our arm as a lever to push us deeper and deeper into spinal rotation. Not only will this help us work on our spinal mobility, but we're also opening up our glutes and the outside of our quads if you have any tightness there. Not to mention that any sort of tightness surrounding your lumbar spine will have a detrimental effect on your hip mobility as well. So we're getting rid of that. Hold for 20 to 30 seconds. Reverse and repeat on the other side. Cross over and push yourself using your arm against your leg into this complete spinal rotation for 20 to 30 seconds. We want to have our legs a little bit wider than shoulder width apart because we need enough space to push our hips down all the way until our butt touches the ground. Now, this is going to require a lot of mobility. So what you will do, if you are a total beginner, you are going to elevate your butt just like so, using a handful of books or yoga blocks or whatever you have. And over time, you can decrease that elevation the more limber you become until you have the necessary mobility to sit down all the way. Place both of your hands on your feet, push our hips forward, lengthening our entire anterior chain, moving all the way up to our abdominals. But what's more important is that we are flexing our entire posterior chain, specifically our biceps, our glutes, and our spinal erectors, which in turn are going to push us forward and is going to lead to a relaxation in the antagonists of these muscles, which is exactly what we need. Once again, how long your range of motion is doesn't really matter. Learn how to go through these movements, even if they are just tiny and short ones. Over time, you will become better, you will have a longer range of motion, and you will be able to extend your hips fully. Place our hands on the ground, and instead of having our feet in complete extension, start them out with our toes on the ground, meaning ankle flexion. With our hands on the ground, pull our knees in, flexing our hip flexors. If you can, get into a complete deep squat, meaning your feet are flat on the ground. Reverse, put your knees down and pull in. Bring your knees down and pull in. And now we're going to combine the last two exercises, meaning we're going to do this, place our hands on our feet and push forward, lengthening our anterior chain before we reverse, place our hands on the ground, and then flexing our anterior chain, which also means that we are flexing our posterior chain before we lengthen our posterior chain. This is an amazing exercise to loosen up all of these lower body joints and even add the tiniest bit of lumbar or spinal mobility, if you will. Now, the next two exercises are by far some of my favorites because they have an insane amount of benefits. With our hands pointed forward, and we're going to place one foot at the same height. Now, we have one knee on the ground, and all we need to do from here is switch our pelvic position, meaning we are going to push our hip down as much as we can by flexing our glutes, flexing our spinal erectors, and staying as upright in our upper body as we can. This is going to lengthen our anterior chain while strengthening our posterior chain, and it's also going to teach us how to work on our pelvic positioning. And switching from here, we're going to do the exact opposite. Around our back, around our hips, and push backwards, lengthening our posterior chain while extending the leg as much as we can. If your range of motion ends here, that's absolutely perfect. And when pushing forward, if this is the extent of your movement, that's also okay. And I would highly suggest you hold the lowest point here for a handful of seconds, and you hold this point here at the very back for a handful of seconds. Keep one hand on the ground, open up with the other arm towards the ceiling as far as you can. before you reverse and do the same thing on the other side. Switching dynamically, right hand down, left arm up, and then left hand down, right arm up. This is going to give us mostly the same benefits like the last exercise. However, it's also going to help us loosen up our spinal erectors even more while opening up the inside of our hips and the outside surrounding our glutes as well. Now we want to go as low as we can by placing our lower arms on the ground. You don't have to already be able to do that. You can once again start with some sort of elevation like so. Lower it down over time like so until you have the necessary flexibility to lower down all the way, and hold this one once again for 20 to 30 seconds. Enjoy this position. It feels absolutely amazing and it opens up your entire hips for maximum flexibility. When it comes to programming, 30 seconds for each static stretch and doing 40 to 60 seconds of every single dynamic stretch. If you can do one single round of all of these exercises, one after another, that's absolutely amazing. If you are truly a total beginner, or if you're struggling with hip mobility, try and just do one single round of every one of these exercises, which will only take about 10 minutes, but do it every single day, or just do it 5 times a week, because if you increase the frequency, this will help you advance much faster, and over time your range of motion will increase and you're either going to require less sessions or you can move on to more advanced exercises. Click that like button if you truly like the video. And if you want to take it even a step further, come on, join us. We do stuff like that pretty much every single day, and that means that I will see you guys tomorrow. So until then, Captain Cairo, peace out.